Hello, hello, hello. Let me check if I am live. Oh, I am. Oh, and and there is no event title, so excellent. All is good. Let me tag everyone so you can come see. So, first of all, apologies for the light. I don't know if I said this last time, but I basically live in a cave. So the lighting is harsh. Like, I've got spotlights above me and they are brutal. So, what I wanted to start with is a little introduction into human design. I know that I've been talking a little bit about this in the group, and I know that I shared last month about human design and how it works. But I'm going to give you a little kind of, the highlights of human design. And then I want to share very specifically with you about how it can support you to create more money in your business. Because, as you're going to see when we go into this, what you create in terms of money, how you work with your human design to create money, is how you work with anything. Is how you work with, how do I bring in more juicy relationships? How do I bring in more adventure? How do I bring in anything? Because we've got this beautiful dance of the masculine and the feminine that is happening with inside that, but also how you then use your human design as a, like, your guidance, or even like a divination rod that is specific for you, is really potent. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Shari. I'm a 5-2 sacral generator, and I prefer soft lighting. Let me see if I can move this actually. I do a lot of my calls from here, but my communities just expect that I'm going to be in the dark, and I thought, let me make a bit of an effort. So I'm a 5-2 sacral generator. I support visionaries and leaders to create more impact and income in their business by using their human design. And we do a lot of embodiment. So not only strategy, but also embodiment, that is the formula, if you like, that is the trifecta of success. Human design, embodiment, and aligning all of that with your business. Now, I have a background in marketing and business development, so I have the real strategic pieces. And then I learn all about energetics, how they have a real big impact in terms of alignment. In fact, I used to run, part of my business journey was that I ran a marketing agency, and we would specialize in funnels and ads. And the funnels and ads would be working brilliantly until somebody fell out of alignment with any part of that journey, which was really interesting because, like, there's all this data that shows it's working, it's working, it's working, and then for no reason, it, like, all the stats, all the income would just dry up, and I'm like, what is going on here? And we figured out it was because somebody had fallen out of love. Like, whenever anybody fell out of alignment with any part of that process, whether it was who they were speaking to, the messaging they were using, what they were selling, how they were selling it, it would have such a big impact on the funnels. So there's a lot that we have to really understand in order to create whatever it is that you want to create in your life, in your business, all of the things. So, human design essentially is the science of the aura. And what that means is that when you understand your aura, you will create alignment in your life, but also you will attract the people, the opportunities, the ideas that are specifically meant for you. Oh, God, that made me jump. Postman just came. Oh, that really made me. I just thought I'd tell you because you definitely saw my face do something there. So, when you are working with your aura, it changes everything. And for me, this has been the catalyst in my business, in my life, in how I parent, and how I operate in the world, and how I show up in the world, all of the things. And so when we're looking at human design being the science of the aura, what it also is it's kind of like your cheat code to anything. It's your energy blueprint. So it holds the answer to any question you ever had about yourself or other people. And when I talk about, there's so many different elements. It tells you how you're best designed to eat, or how you're best designed to sleep, or how you're best designed to make money, or how you have great sex. It's all in your chart. And what is really incredible about that is that you've got this potent tool, and it is a tool that is designed to liberate you from the confines and the constrictions that society has put on us, and to bring you into a place of empowerment. And they say that human design is the first Aquarian tool for empowerment and self-awareness, and that's really what it is. Now, why that's important is because what it's going to give to you, what it's going to support you with, is your own kind of insights about how to make this work. So I'm leaning into money because we're in Venus retrograde. Now, I'm not an astrologer. I know a few things, so I'm not going to go into the astrology of it all. Like, astrology is a part of human design, but it is not, I know bits. I'm not an astrologer. But what I will say is this: what I understand about Venus retrograde is that it is asking us to look at what we value inside of us, what we value inside of the business, what we value inside of all of these different things, what we value inside of like our experience of life. When I teach people about human design and we're looking at their Venus specifically, this is like the feminine energy. It's where we hold values. And they say that Venus is the planet of millionaires and then Jupiter is the planet of billionaires. So Venus is really directly related to the creation of wealth, particularly for women, in my understanding, because of this feminine energy. Now, in order to create any miracle in the world, right? And this all money is, and joy, adventure, like all the things that you want to create, it's a miracle. And it is the co-creation of a harmonious relationship between the masculine and the feminine energy. And this is going somewhere. We are going to get into human design in a minute, I promise. But the reason why that's important is because, if you think about how a baby is created, I always come back to how a baby is created because, when you were at school and you would get told by all the teachers, don't have unprotected sex because you could get pregnant instantly. Like, I literally grew up thinking this. So why am I actually not getting pregnant when I want to? Because I thought it was just like, easy. Apparently it's not. And I saw a documentary about how a baby is actually made and how your body like attacks the sperm, and it's like this real gauntlet, like a gladiator journey for the sperm to even get to the egg, and like all of these things. Honestly, the way that was positioned, it's a miracle that any one of us is here. And so when I look at the creation of any of these miracles, I'm like, okay, how does a baby come to be? And it's this co-creation of the masculine and the feminine. Sorry, I've got the leftovers of some energy embodiment. So when we look at that, what happens is the woman, like the feminine, has to feel safe and be in a place of desire. You think about having sex, right? Anything that doesn't feel safe or that you're not turned on by, you're like, no, close down, don't touch me. It doesn't matter who it is. You're just like, no. Energy closed down, body closed down, shut off. So the place of safety and desire is what attracts and allows that receptivity for the masculine, and we all have the feminine and the masculine inside of us, allows that receptivity of the masculine, which is always ready to go. Like, think about it. A guy, he's always ready to go. And this is how the miracle is created. The baby is created, this beautiful co-creation. Now, how that plays out in life is this. We are masculine and feminine, but we have been taught to be more masculine in the way that we show up, particularly in business, because you think about business, it's inherently this masculine experience. So we show up in this masculine energy of doing, figuring it out, problem solving, all of these things in the kind of like chasing of money or freedom or time or any of these things that are actually masculine energy. But if you are in the masculine energy, there is very little space for the masculine to come into your experience. And so what we have to understand is, where am I in alignment with the masculine and the feminine energy? How do I support myself in both of these areas? And while we're in this period of Venus retrograde, it's really showing us where we're, where we're pushing, or where we're not holding our value, or where we're moving in a way that isn't aligned with what is important to us. And I think, it comes on the back of, we've had this Mars retrograde, which is more of the masculine energy, like the action taking. So it's really interesting time at the moment. Now, how this all relates to money is this: if we are doing, then it is harder to be in that really beautiful attraction energy. Think like it's this beautiful dance of seduction, this attraction field you want to bring into your experience, bringing money in. It's about, how do I own who I am and be the magnet? Like, I remember when I started in business, and there's a lot of talk about money magnet. I mean, I'm here for the alliteration, right? And it's literally that energy of, how do I be the money magnet? Now, this is tied into your human design, and I want to explain this. I'm going to explain a couple of things that tied into your human design, but this is the first and most important thing. Remember, I said that human design is the science of the aura. And before we go into the specifics of your aura based on your human design, if you imagine your aura is this energetic sphere that is all around you, your aura holds everything that you say yes to. And if you are saying yes to things that are out of alignment, or you think you should, or it's an obligation, or it's a duty, or you paid for this course, so you're going to make sure you get your money's worth, like any of those things that we have all done and maybe still do, all of those things are in your auric field. Now, your aura has a capacity. And a lot of the reason why we're overwhelmed is because we're filling our auric fields with things that are not actually aligned for us, or we think we should be doing, or we've been told we need to do in business, and all of these different things. And so when it's in our auric field, it's taking up the space, which means that the things that you actually want, it's harder for them to come in because there's no space. And what we do, like the human part of us goes, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to work out why this is not working for me. When we do that, we come into a place of the masculine, because we're figuring it out. We're going into this problem solving, solution finding, and often the solution is to bring more things into your aura, whether it's like blueprints or strategies, or the thing that is definitely going to work to move your business forward, or to create the situation that you want to create. And then we also go into a lot of action taking, like, I'm going to do more, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to push more. That is like a standard human response. Let me know if this resonates with you. I can't see any comments, so let me know if you're watching. Come and say hello. And I think that when we go into that place, it's really important to remember that that is all masculine. So you're filling more of your auric field with masculine. At the same time, because this is not aligned for you, it shrinks your capacity. Like, I want you to kind of really visualize your aura as this beautiful sphere around you. I was going to say a balloon, but it made me feel a bit like claustrophobic. So no, don't imagine it as a balloon. Like this beautiful auric field that is this sphere around you, and imagine that you're filling it with all of these things. When it's aligned, it has this really beautiful impact and shines brighter, and everybody's like really vibing with it. Let me see what's going on over here, drawn to it. Like, let me see what's happening. When it is not, it kind of dulls your shine. So the sphere around you becomes harder to see. Your energy, what you're sharing in the world, it starts to shrink your capacity. So the energy that you have to receive becomes smaller, which then your head goes, let me do more, let me work harder, let me bring some more stuff in. And you could be doing all the mindset work, you could be doing all the energy work, you could be doing all of the actual actions, and nothing is changing. And so the human experience goes, but wait, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing and nothing is happening. And it's really disheartening. It's really disillusioning. Disillusioning, is that a word? It creates disillusionment. And what happens, like, because the law of attraction is still working, is the universe is still bringing you more and more and more of the things that you're saying yes to. even though you're saying yes because you think you should, or you don't really want them, and you're like, what? I'm doing all the things. Why is this not changing? And it's not changing because you keep saying yes. And that is the energy that you're sharing. That is the energy. That's what you're holding in your aura. When this happens, you're not in that, I feel safe, I'm in desire, because you're trying to figure it out and fix. So you're taking up the space of the masculine. So there's no money, there's no more time, there's no more, like, anything that you want to bring in. There's less space for it because you're filling what you have with things that you don't want, or things that you think are going to move the needle. Let me know if this resonates. And one of the reasons why this is super important, because to understand, is because your aura in your human design holds the answers for you. When you look at your human design chart and it says whether you're a manifestor, a manifesting generator, a projector, or a reflector, that literally is how your aura operates in the world. That is how you're designed to not only tune into alignment and know what is right for you, but what it is that you're bringing into your auric field. Like, it becomes this really tangible thing. I remember when I really started tuning into alignment, I was living in Bali at the time, because I was like, I'm done with this agency that I've created where I'm the only cog that is moving the machine forward, and was working so many hours. I knew that energy was the answer to changing how my business was operating. And I also wanted to world school my son. So what's the logical answer to that? Move to Bali. Obviously. Move to Bali. I'm going to pack up the house, rent it out. We're going to move to Bali and we're going to live there happily ever after. I mean, it didn't work like that, but it was all perfect, right? Because I went to Bali and I knew that that was my opportunity to tap into alignment. And so I did. But this was in like 2018, right at the beginning of 2018. Who's telling me how to tap into alignment? I had trained in all these different energetic protocols and all these different things. I didn't know. And so at that time, I decided I would only say yes to the things that were exciting to me. Now, let me tell you what happened. Most of my business disappeared. I started saying no to a lot of my clients. The rest of the clients went, because it's like you get this moment of calibration where the universe goes, I see what's happening here. Let me support you. Let me calibrate you to this. So all of my clients went. I had no income coming in. It's the other side of the world. My son was 6 at the time. And I was in this space of, I'm only going to say yes to the things that are aligned for me. That is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Because what the universe actually brought me, in all its wisdom, let's see how serious you are. I bet you can relate to these moments. Let's see how serious you are. How about you have another agency client? How about you have another agency contract? Easy yeses, easy money, not in alignment, did not excite me. And to hold that and say no was terrifying. But when I started saying yes to the things that were in alignment, here's what happened. My head was really strong. How do you know this is alignment? Who told you this is alignment? How do you know this is going to work? You've got no evidence this is going to work. How do you know? And so as much as everybody talks about alignment and you kind of know that that's what the answer is, inside your head is going, wait, what? How do we know? Because we're not tuned into our body to find what alignment is. And so we say yes to the things that make sense and make business decisions. And where we really need to land, really, and this is a journey, everything in human design, everything in business, it's all an experiment ultimately. Where we need to land is to be saying yes to the things that make our aura brighter and more magnetic and spacious and juicy and dreamy and all of those things. And this is where understanding your human design really comes in. So I'm going to, by the way, it did all work out in 2018. I mean, obviously it all worked out. Changed the trajectory of my life and business forever in a really beautiful way. But then a year later, when I moved we lived in South Spain, that's when human design found me. And I was like, of course, this is how I was operating, because I was embodying what it means to be a generator without knowing that's what I was embodying. So when we talk about the human design auras, what's super powerful, I'm going to run through them all in a second, and then I want to give you another piece to be aware of as well. What's super important is that you are saying yes to the things that are aligned and saying no to the things that are not. And the quickest way to actually start to liberate and to make shifts and changes in your business or in your life or however that looks is to like take inventory of what is in your aura in the first place. What is there that doesn't need to be there or has no business being there? Now, excuse me. What I will say is this: don't make any big moves while we're in this kind of retrograde period. And again, not an astrologer. That is my invitation to you. I know that there is somebody in the group who does astrology, and her name has completely escaped my mind, so I'm really sorry. But what I would say is be really aware. What do I value in this? What am I holding in this? And for me, that plays out in every area of your life, because you can't pee in a swimming pool and expect it not to spread. And that's the same with your energy. We don't like only focus on business because everything is related. We don't only focus on relationships because everything is related. So where you start to clear out in one area, everything starts to clear out. And often, because our brain is so great at keeping us in our comfort zone, it creates this kind of magician's hand effect where it's like, look over here. And we think that actually the answer is, if only I had a funnel in place in my business. But actually, you've got to do the work over here. I had an experience of this at the weekend where I was at a really beautiful ceremony with Marina, who's in this group as well. And she invited us to pick a card. And my intention was clarity. And I'm like, give me clarity. Like, I was expecting it to roll out some kind of business plan or something on the card. And then I got karmic relationships. And I have a lot of trauma in my past around relationships. And then Marina said, this is about trauma and grief and loss. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like I've done the work on this like 59 million times, you know. But it is that thing of, I think I need to focus on a business plan. And so I'm still work in progress with this. We're always work in progress. There's always new levels of embodiment. So my brain goes, you need to work on a business plan. And my energy's like, you need to work on this. Oh, of course, in Venus retrograde, right? What are we going to do? Go into the heart, of course. So it's really about being aware of those things. Now, in your human design, the way this shows up is by really tapping into your aura. Now, if you're a manifestor, I'm going to do these super brief, but I also have something coming in this space really soon that will support you in more details. I'm just finishing it up, which I'll share at the end. But anyway, if you are a manifestor, you are designed to initiate and to inform. That means you don't have to wait for people outside of you to tell you how to move or where to move or how to navigate business, life, whatever it is. You know inside of you. But if there's too much noise, if there's too much going on around you, then you're not going to be able to feel, hear, know, trust when your body is going, this is what we're doing, move with it. What is actually the piece for manifestors to master is the rest cycle. If you're pushing forward when you haven't got the energy to push forward, what you put out into the world is not going to be magnetic, and it's going to deplete your energy. It's actually going to burn you out. But we've all been told you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent in business. You want to create money, you've got to be consistent. And it's like this real experiment of how can I trust that when I'm in that initiation, that will fully support me so that I don't have to push when I'm in the rest cycle. And I'm not asking you to do that straight away, because everyone has different kind of tolerances with this, depending on where you are now, how regulated you are, all of those things. What is, I just seen a comment come up. Hi Natalie, I'm gonna have a look at that in a second. So when you have that real trust, what is going to support you is to build the evidence. So look at the evidence in your life or in your business of where you've had that, this is what we're doing, let's go with this, and it has delivered whatever you would like it to deliver, right? Whether it's money or opportunities, however that shows up, really start to anchor into that evidence so that you can build that trust. You know, when you are doing certain things or experiencing certain things in your business, there's this piece around understanding if you're in alignment or not. And if you're in alignment as a manifestor, you feel peace, you feel contentment. If you're out of alignment, you feel anger, annoyance, irritability, all of these things. My son, he's a manifestor, he's very embodied. His first, I swear, the thing he says the most to me is, I am so annoyed. Like, okay. Hormones, right? So really understanding this, really starting to notice, because what we're doing here is shining a spotlight on certain things. So really starting to notice, where am I feeling peace in my business and where am I feeling annoyance? They're going to give you your clues about what needs to be released or changed, delegated, deleted, those kind of things. Natalie, where were you? And that's what I was saying in the thread. I see the thing people really need to be working on, and it's not always emotionally linked to body weight. I see that too. And they are always linked. That's an oversimplification. Yeah, of course. And, ultimately, simplicity is super powerful because we as humans overcomplicate things. But equally, because there's always this spectrum, right? Simplicity is key, but also we're super complex. So it's that real understanding. And when I actually, let's do projectors now, right? So projectors, when you are working with your energy, your auric field is going to support you best when you are being recognized and you're inviting those things into your energy that is as a result of you being recognized and ultimately invited. I mean, the invitation thing I find really interesting for projectors, because I see a lot of projectors say, Jenna, it's all perfect timing, lovely. What I see with projectors is that a lot of projectors come to me and there's this idea that you have to wait, just be sat around waiting for invitations. And it's not that at all. Actually, what is happening is that you're almost in this like preparation stage. The waiting is, how am I supporting myself to recognize myself? How am I supporting my body and my energy? And how am I in this kind of preparation of receiving these invitations? But the thing about the invitation is this: an invitation isn't somebody knocking at your door. I always have this idea of, like Cinderella, where the scroll gets rolled out and the Prince Charming's there, like, I invite you to the ball. It's not about that. The invitation is even people leaning forward when you're talking. It's anybody who's on your mailing list. It's anybody who's said, I love your work. It's anybody who's following you. They're the real invitations. Those people are already in your world. They already recognized you. When you're looking at kind of the bigger decisions in your life, like going into business with somebody, wait until they invite you. Wait until they say, hey, you're really great at what you're doing. Shall we go into business together? Shall we do this collaboration? Shall we do this retreat together? Whatever it is. Like, yes, wait for the recognition for that. Sorry, the invitation for that. But generally speaking, a lot of projector energy starts with you first. Where is your recognition coming for yourself? How are you leaning into the recognition of your own gifts? So Natalie, for you, for example, recognizing that, yeah, you come to me for this, but we're going to unlock so much more. There's so much more that I can see. There's so much more potency inside of me that it doesn't have to be confined, but I get to share, like, this is what my focus is for you. And then trusting that the people that then come to work with you, hey, we're going to unlock so much more. You can totally share those stories as well and say about those things, but it's that deep recognition of yourself first that becomes the beacon for everybody else. And when people recognize you, that's when it has the most impact, because for projectors, you've got this auric field that is like a unicorn horn. It goes super deep into people that you're working with, into the situations that you're exploring, the systems that you're looking at, any of those things. And when you have that with the people that you're working with, then it creates this massive ripple effect of transformation and positive upwards cycles of transformation in the whole world. When they don't recognize you, what is happening is it is not landing for them, because remember I said your energy is like a unicorn horn. If they don't see you as the person with the answers, it can feel kind of like, whoa, what happened there? And it's all this energetic experience. We're all energy readers, whether we consciously know it or not, whether we're saying it or not. We're always in this feedback loop with energy. So if you haven't been recognized, then even though you can see super clearly what is required, it's not received. And that's why it's really important that you have your own recognition first. When you are in alignment, so, when we're talking about what's in your auric field, when you're in alignment, you will feel successful. Whatever that version of success for you is, when it says your signature is success, it basically means that's your sign for alignment. When you feel success, and you will literally see success in your life as well, but it's really important that you get clear on what success is for you. When you're out of alignment, it's more bitterness, resentment, jealousy. And it's this thing where, I always talk about power. Where's your power? When your power is inside of you, particularly for everybody, but as a projector, when your power is inside of you, this is where you're the beacon and you're attracting in. Projectors, you like the queeniest energy when you're embodied. It's like, hey, come to me, And it's really beautiful to witness and experience that. But when you experience bitterness, it's almost like you might have the thoughts of, I'm doing all the things they're doing, but I'm not getting the results. It's like you're taking your power from here and placing it on the other person instead of really bringing it back to yourself. So if you notice that happening, notice where that's linked in your business, but also start to bring it back to yourself. Where do I need to re-recognize myself? Does that make sense, Natalie? So this is how you start to take inventory. Excuse me. For generators and manifesting generators, Jenna, you're money gen. See, perfect timing. I hadn't even started talking about the generator types yet. What we're talking about, for those of you who are just joining now, is how you can create more of anything you want, whether it's money, adventure, love, joy, relationships, space, by working with your auric field. Now, your auric field is designed to, it's determined by your type. So as a manifesting generator and generator, for anyone else in who's generator type, I'm a 5-2 sacral generator. We are designed to respond. And that means that if you're saying yes to the things that light you up, beautifully explained, it's the what else factor. Yes, I love that. When we are saying yes to the things, or when you are saying yes to the things that light you up, they're the aligned things. You have to trust that you can say no to the things that don't feel aligned. That's really powerful, because as a generator or manifesting generator, it's really easy for you to say yes to everything because you've got this defined sacral in your body. That's what makes you a generator type. And the sacral is like the battery pack. Everything that exists in the world comes from sacral energy in one way or another. And you've got this consistently. Everybody has access to all of the chart. For generators and manifesting generators, this cough, I'm so sorry. For generators and manifesting generators, you have it consistently. You have access to that energy consistently. That is what you're responding with. But people see that you have this energy consistently, so they ask you to do a lot of things, and you have got this kind of inbuilt experience where you're like, I can do that, I can do that, like I can say yes, I can say yes. But if you're saying yes to the things that are not aligned for you, that they're not lighting you up, then it is going to consume your auric field and shrink your capacity, and you won't be attracting in the things that you really desire. And so it's super important, because this is how you create the magnetism, really, but it's also how you have the space for the things that you want. And I know it sounds simple, say yes to the things that light you up and say no to the things that don't, but it is a game changer. It is going to change so much. Now, sometimes, because the world taught everybody to be really in their head, you might not know what actually feels exciting, or what you want to say yes to, or what you don't want to say yes to. And so my invitation to you is to start to ask yourself yes or no questions for everything. When you put the kettle on, do I want tea or coffee? When you get dressed in the morning, do I want to wear lipstick? Do I want to wear this jumper? And start to notice what happens in your body. Because when you say yes, or when your body is indicating a yes, it's going to feel exciting. It's going to feel like your body wants to move towards it. It's going to feel expansive. You maybe have this kind of like it's a visceral thing. You maybe have this surge of energy through your body, or maybe you have like butterflies in your chest. Maybe your body moves forward. Maybe you go, uh-huh, mm-hmm. Like for me, when it's a really big yes, my body moves forward. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like literally, yeah. That thing. That is like, hell yes, let's go. But it also is going to give you a no. And there are moments where you might feel your body moving backwards or shrinking. There are moments where you might find that you're feeling like there is no part of my body that wants to say yes to this. There's no part, like I've said this in the past where I've literally said there is no part of me that wants to be involved in this, and you might find that as well. So being able to really trust the yes and the no is your superpower. So when you're looking at what is happening in your business, look at what is a like yes versus a and if it's a maybe, and if it's a like you're not really getting the yes response, it's probably a no, or it might be a not now. When I don't like the clarity for me always comes from my body. And so if I don't know, or if there is no obvious sacral response, I'm like, there's nothing to do here until I have a yes or a no. There's no action to take. There's nothing to change until I have a yes or a no. I'm really bad at saying no, but I've been working on my boundaries this year and have seen such a shift. Yes, it's huge, right? It's huge. When you start trusting in the yes or the no, and this is why I always say to people, do it with things like tea or coffee or what jumper you wear, because that has no emotional attachment. It's not like a big thing. When we start to look at things like what is going on in my business, there's a kind of an element of emotional attachment that's weaved into that, so it can be more challenging. But the more you can build the trust with your sacral for things that have no massive impact, the easier it becomes. And the other thing, similar to like for everybody really, look at the evidence of where you in hindsight have followed what is aligned for you, and you've been able to see the evidence of that. You've been able to see how that shows up in a way that is really beautiful and aligned and like has given you what you wanted to have ultimately. Now, as a generator or a manifesting generator, if you are in alignment, you will feel excited and lit up and vibey. I mean, it actually says satisfied. You will feel good. You will feel like the work that you're doing or the creations that you're creating will be timeless. Like time goes, when you get really kind of hyper focused and time disappears and you're so in it, that is it. Versus, oh my God, I feel like I've been doing this for a million years and it's 4 minutes. Like that is not it. And when you're out of alignment, you'll feel frustrated. And that is literally maybe saying, I'm frustrated, or you feel like your energy has stopped moving inside of you. I feel like this real grindy feeling in my solar plexus. The fastest way to move it, by the way, is move more. Most generators and manifesting generators don't move enough. The more you move, the easier it is to actually tap into your sacral. Reflectors. Reflectors are 1% of the population. Now, the way that you work is that you are supported by the moon. So you're moving with the moon. You feel the transits of the moon. The moon goes through every single gate in the human design chart over its lunar cycle. And so you're really attuned with that. You're really tapped into that. The more that you are able to feel that in your body, the more that you're able to tap into that experience in your body and be aware of how you feel on a day-to-day basis, the more you can start to attune to what is consistent for you. Like you say yes to the things that keep nudging you, that you're feeling over and over again. But the way that you start to look at this from an auric perspective is, where do I feel surprised and delighted? Like what is really surprising and delighting me in my business versus what is disappointing me? And this could be around the energy that you're in, like the groups that you're in, if you're on TikTok, you're like, this is so disappointing, get off TikTok. Because you really feel the energy, like more so than anybody else, you feel the energy that you're in. Really start to be present to what is surprising and delighting me and what is disappointing me, and that will start to guide you to what is probably not aligned for you in your business. But don't rush with your decisions. Take the time to feel into that clarity and that consistency in the clarity, because you're going to feel different things as the moon is moving. Okay? Now, One of the things that I want, so that's how your aura works. This is how you can start to tap into your aura. But the other thing I want to share with you is that when you look at your human design chart, you will see that some of it is colored in and some of it is not colored in. Wherever is colored in is called defined, and it means that you have got consistent access to that energy. These are the portals of magnetism that are inside of you. They're always radiating out of you, whether it's centers, which are the shapes, or the channels, which are joining the centers together, or whether it's the gates. They are always radiating out of you. They're always there. This is your magnetism. This is what you want to lean into, because then your energy can do the heavy lifting. Where it's not colored in, this is called undefined, and this is where you've got inconsistent access to the energy in those centers, or in the any part of the chart. But really, we want to focus on the centers, because what happens in the undefined centers is that we've got this really gorgeous experience going on. I want you to fall in love with the undefined centers as much as I do. Most people look at the undefined centers and realize that this is where we are more likely to hold conditioning. And the conditioning is what disconnects us from our sovereignty. Conditioning is, the beliefs and the stories and the experiences that we hold on to from the world, from our own experience, from our own perspective sometimes, that it doesn't serve us. We hold that in our energy. When we talk about the body keeping the score, it's more likely to be related to your undefined centers and the themes of those centers. Now, what most people do is they look at that and go, quick, I've got to fix it. Remember I said about this fixing thing, the solution, like, let me get into the masculine, let me fix it. A lot of people go into this quick, let me fix it energy. You don't need to fix it. There is nothing broken. There is nothing to solve here. Because what happens in the undefined centers is that you get to experience the world in a way that you could never experience in the defined centers, because they're so open to all of the energies, to the whole range of experiences that are available for you, whereas the defined centers are kind of static. How you experience the energy in the defined centers is how you experience the energy in the defined centers. How you experience in the undefined centers is limitless. Yes, it's also where we're more likely to hold conditioning. But the conditioning is for a reason. Your soul designed you in that way for a very specific reason. And the reason is this: to understand what is on the other side of the conditioning, you have to experience it. And what is on the other side of the conditioning is the wisdom. So those undefined centers, you were always designed to experience the wisdom on the other side. It's like where the gold is, actually. It's where we can alchemize those experiences and turn these, what we like, when we think about the human experience, we have these good emotions and bad emotions. Like, they're all emotions, that none of them are good or bad, really. We've just been taught that some are good and some are bad. Some feel different in our body and we're not used to that. But where we've had these things like that hold these bad, bad emotions or bad experiences. Now, I'm not taking away from trauma. I'm not taking away from that. I'm not making light of it at all. I want to be super clear about that. Like, I've experienced some horrible things in life. But what we have to understand is that there is wisdom on the other side of it. There is gold on the other side of it. Why this is important when we're talking about attraction, when we're talking about bringing, money, or attracting clients that are dreamy to work with, or attracting the love of your life, whatever it is that you're focused on. Why this is important to realize is because oftentimes what we're holding in those undefined centers, because we don't know, is what is disconnecting us from that magnetism. Because when we're clearing out the aura and we're saying this is what is aligned for you in your aura, we still have this physical body. We still have this, the meat suit that is holding everything that we've experienced. And our physical body moves slower than the energy that we're moving and shifting. But we have to go into the body. We have to understand what we're holding in our energy. And oftentimes we're holding experiences of whatever you're going to focus on. I mean, I'm focusing on money because that's what came to me this morning when I was like tuning in. What am I going to talk about? The experiences that we have with money, the beliefs that we have with money, the strategies that didn't work, the um, business launches or the business ideas that didn't land, or where we've invested in things and it didn't play out the way we thought it was going to, or where we've lost money on ads, or any of these stories, they're all in, or these experiences, they are all inside of us, and our undefined centers can start to pinpoint where those things are. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the centers today because honestly, that's easier to do if I'm able to share at least a picture of a chart or something. But I find this back end of Facebook very challenging, which is why there's no title. um, I'm a simple girl. I can build funnels. I can run ads. Like, ask me to do those things. Ask me to do a Facebook Live. No idea. Anyway, there is one center that is like the linchpin for most people because it's the energy of the world that we're in, and we're massively conditioned in this center, whether it's defined or undefined, and that is the ego center, or the will center, or the heart center. Like, it has three names, right? I think it's hilarious that I mean, my teacher taught it to me as the ego center. I think it's hilarious that the ego center has all these different names. But anyway, when you look at your chart, it is the teeny tiny triangle right in the middle. So you've got the diamond that's actually in the middle, and just to the side of it, there's a teeny tiny triangle, which again, I think is hilarious, that it's almost like, don't look at me, I'm so small. Don't look at me. But the whole world, like the whole world, needs to look there. And the reason why is because this is the center of value and worth and motivation and willpower and resource. And we're in a paradigm that says, in order to be valuable, in order to be worthy, in order to create resource, you have to work hard. You have to have willpower. You have to push. Now, that is true for 30% of the population who have this center defined. 70% have it undefined. But even for the 30% of the people who have it defined, it doesn't mean you've got to push all the time. It actually means you have the energy to go after what your heart's desire is. You have the energy to move forward and to be like really dedicated when your heart wants it. Not when the world says you should do it, not when somebody says, will you do this for me? Not when you think you need to do it, but when your heart wants it. And so what is really interesting, when I look at the link between human design and physiological impacts on what we're holding, like energetically, when I look at that and I see the ego center, it makes perfect sense to me that heart-related disease or illness, or even like breast cancer, when we're looking at the body, is the biggest killer in the world. And this is really linked to, like, I know, I don't mean this to be morbid, but I want you to understand the impact of energy, because what we're doing in this center is using it as like this energetic bank, but we're not filling the bank up before we're pushing out. Our kind of energetic bank from the heart is always in deficit, because we're pushing and we're being motivated and we're in this real masculine energy of going, but at the same time, there's this questioning of value and worth. By the way, if you don't have any of these things, please don't take them on board. Like, nobody needs more stuff than we've already got stuff to work through, right? But generally, when this center is disempowered, whether it's defined or undefined, it's more likely to be like this when it's undefined. But when this center is disempowered, there's questioning worth, questioning value. Am I doing enough? Do I know enough? How can I prove? How can I convince that my way is the right way? How can I be responsible for my client results? How can I make sure that I'm pushing and motivated and have willpower to keep going all of the time? How do I learn more things to prove that I have value? All of these things. This is where imposter syndrome sits. It's where comparisonitis sits. It's where there's this real deep connection with, for me, mine is undefined. I have a lot of disempowerment that I've worked through. It's where I would, if you ask me how I was, I'd be like, wait, let me just go check how much I weigh today. I can't tell you who I am or how I am. I need to see, what is my weight on the scales? What dress size am I in? How much money did I make? All of these things, like that external validation of my value and worth. Instead of knowing that I'm inherently worthy, knowing where my power is, being able to really come back to this trust. Now, why this is so related to money is because it's the center of resource. In fact, one of the channels that comes off this is called the money line. I don't call it the money line, I call it the resource line, because we don't actually need money to get what we want in life. We can be resourced in so many different ways as long as we can open up to that. Whereas the world told us you need money to get this, you need money to create success, you need to have lots of money to be successful, like all of these different things. But when you can start to tap into where is my power within that, not only the platitudes of I am worthy, I am valuable because I exist, not only the affirmations, but you have to go into the energy around this. What happens when you have this center defined, excuse me, what happens when you have this center defined is because it is so closely linked to things like ego, that as females, there's this piece around don't show off, don't boast, don't take up the space, don't be bigger than you are. My son, he has this center defined. He tells me all the time, Mum, I'm great at this. I'm like, good for you, babe. Whereas when, like, generationally, when we were growing up, if I was like, oh my God, I'm the best at this, don't show up. Show up. Show off. Don't show off. Don't boast. The good girl conditioning combined with this masculine conditioning is where it all sits in the ego center. And the more that you are operating from a disempowered place in the ego center, the more you're repelling money, the more you're repelling love, because actually the ego center is where the harmony between the masculine and the feminine sit. This is, I call it the center of wealth. And wealth is, you know, if we look at the etymology of the word wealth, it's well-being and health. That is where it comes from. When you have well-being and health and you're moving in alignment, like, it's inevitable that you will attract resource and money. It's inevitable. It's a universal law. There's no way that that success cannot be created in your reality. But so often, we're actually disregarding our health in the pursuit of money, in the pursuit of what we see as wealth, in the pursuit of creating success, of being willful, of being motivated, of being able to keep going, of being able to prove our value and convince people of our worth. And that is always going to repel money. Always. That is always going to repel love. It is always going to repel adventure. It always going to repel, like, it's all linked, right? For me, this center is why I have a history with people who are narcissistic, with people who are abusive, because it was holding this kind of codependency. So where it plays out in relationship, it plays out in business, it plays out in health, it plays out everywhere. And so my invitation to you is to really lean into an exploration of not only your whole design, I mean, always, I'm going to invite you to that, but in where am I really tapping into that some of the things that I shared with you that show up when this is disempowered, like what is present to me?